Good afternoon and welcome to Chessbook Reviews 151. I'm going to talk about the Danish Grandmaster Bent Larsen. But before I do, could you like and subscribe down below? I'd be very grateful. Thank you. Bent Larsen was, for many years, the number 2 player behind Fischer. Outside of the Soviet Union, very strong player indeed, more at ease and at home in tournaments rather than match play, and he never got to challenge for the World Championships. In 1971 in Denver, in the good old US of A, he lost 6-0 to Fischer in a match. He said afterwards that it was blindingly hot, and that before every game, Bobby went out and played tennis and came back, and he was just sitting there gasping for air. Well, maybe. I don't really know. What I do know is I want to show you this. This is quite a little-known book, particularly in English. It's by Larsen, and it's a David Mackay book. It's American. This was the match that Korchnoi so nearly won, even though he lost it. And that's chess, and that's also match play. The games are in English descriptive notation, which some people will like, and hopefully most people will ignore. There we are. Double columns and an introduction. World Championship books these days are almost not that popular. And the back letters written by Korchnoi to Brezhnev. Dear Mr. Brezhnev. Whether in fact there was any point in that correspondence, I don't know. But maybe it made Victor feel a bit better about things. Larsen's annotations are probably very thorough. And here's all the preceding clashes. If you look through this book, you might be under the impression that Ray Keane wrote it. Well, he didn't. Anyway, there we are. If you see it around, as I always say, give it your time. Now, from the good to the bad, here's Larsen's name cropping out with Santazier. Santazier was a very minor US master. It says he chess world, music world, world of art, and a well-known author. Well, he had bracketed his name in with Larsen. I'm not convinced really that Larsen needed this. Nor did he sanction it, but nevertheless, you may know this is a Grand Prix attack in our own time, and then given it by Leonard Barden. But even if you don't, there's some games played by Larsen in here, I suppose. Here he is playing Bednarski, the Pole. One anyway. One game. Oh, I don't know if that justifies it, but I'm being ironic. As you can see, they were pretty sparing in their comments. Decent diagrams, nothing wrong with that. But I don't really think this is a sufficient tribute to Bent Larsen. This book is very, very well respected. It's got a sticker on it of £1. Believe you me, people pay a lot more than £1 for this. How good is your chess sort of thing? You try and work out the moves and work out the plans. He gives all sorts of games. Correspondence once and going right back. The big leap forward for chess player probably takes place when he discovers the logic of the game. This could be compared to the game's own history. Philidor had the idea that pawns were the soul of chess. But when everything is considered, that is nonsense. Only Larsen would write like that, I think. If the game has a soul, then it is not detached to just one kind of chessman. However, he wanted to stress something which had so far been underestimated. Later, Steinitz said, I can imagine that a game of genius wins against a mediocre player using some elegant combinations. But what happens when two geniuses meet? Well, I'm sure Steinitz knew that when he played Lasker and Pillsbury and Chigorin, and many of his contemporaries, all of them, of course, his rivals. It's got positions for you to work out what the next move is. I'm useless at these, but of course they're worth working through. How can they not be? There we are. This book was published by Oxford University Press about 50 years ago, and it still comes through shining. This is a very recent book, which I have to say instantly. It's one of the few books I've bought recently, which I didn't like. It's too advanced for me. This is a very advanced book for people on the ladder of international play. It's by Mikhail Marin. 9 chapters, and it was published 3 years ago. Larsen died in 2010, having been born in 1935. Of course, it's nice to see games by Bent Larsen. What could be better? But it's very deep analysis. There's Larsen on the right. So Bent Larsen is one of the most celebrated chess players of the 20th century. Larsen is the man who pushed Bobby Fischer down on board 2 and the rest of the world team in 1970. Yes, that was quite surprising. Bobby was rusty. And I expect he wanted to just give a little drink. Wait till he had to play Spassky. It was only a 4-game match, and in fact, Spassky lost against Larsen in the 3rd round, which must have surprised him. Must have surprised everybody, apart from Larsen himself, who is the born optimist. So here's this book. It's published by Quality Chess. I paid $24.99 for it, which I can only explain to the right person it is easily worth, but it is a very complex book, worth having. Now, this is probably the book I would recommend the most. What they've done with this book is they've taken an earlier book and also a book that was in Spanish and merged them, I think. So they've said it's by Bent Larsen, and it is, but it didn't come out by Bent Larsen as one book. But all the notes are his. The games are presented chronologically, and there's cross tables like that. And it's in figurine algebraic notation, as is standard nowadays. Here's Larsen on the cover, looking fairly imperious. And the games are played since he was a child, right up to his death in 2010, which was very sad because he was extremely ill. He carried on playing when he should have retired, or somebody should have helped him retire. He made a bit of a fool of himself. Bit of unkind things to say, but nevertheless true. He's looking through various old tournaments, games presented chronologically. I wasn't going off to sleep. There we are. It's a big book published by New in Chess. This is the earlier edition, much earlier. This is my bell. Looking sorry for itself because I've sellotaped it up. But I don't care, because the reason it's been ripped and so forth is because it's been used. It's a textbook, isn't it? I paid £10 for this. Well, it's worth, well, a lot more than £10. And I remember this book when I was a boy. Chess masters do not talk as much as of sore pines, a cyclist and six-day race, but, except for that, there are certain similarities when it comes to eloquence after an unexpected bad showing in the spurt for points. That's typical Larsen to say something. He's talking about Eliscasias. Do you know Eliscasias? Do you know Eliscasus? Until 1939, the Austrian candidate for the World Championship, now a strong and solid grandmaster, but a little too passive in his play, without the fighting spirit and ambition of his youth. Against such players, I like to play the Dutch. Often they potter about too much and just sit and build up on attack on the king's side. This is from 1958, so you will see that already he was. Hartston said that Larsen was like John the Baptist to Fisher's Christ, in as much that he paved the way, but he didn't actually take the journey himself. Ultimately, they may have wished, I'm sure he wished to do so. It didn't quite happen like that. These old bells still have a certain charm, at least for me. He quotes a correspondence game he played in 1966 against Bogren, and it is, sorry, against Nyman. I do apologize. It's a from gambit. There you go. Probably can't see that, but it is. This is a very recent book by Cyrus, whose work I've mentioned so often on these gin wags. And it's an Everyman publication, which is always good value for money, isn't it? Let's see what we're getting for our money here. Bent Larsen, the most influential chess player for the 20th century, 4-time candidate for the World Championship, and the first Westerner to seriously challenge the Soviet Union's post-war dominance of the game. I'm not sure about that statement, because I would consider Reshevsky in the USA very definitely challenged it, didn't he? And Bobby Latterly, of course. I think one thing about Larsen's career that now I reflect is that comparing it to Fischer's is not actually putting it into perspective. It's better to compare it with, say, Gingrich or Portisch or Ulf Andersson and Olafsson as fellow Scandinavians, though he ended up in South America. I think he married and married again. That might need checking. I'd like some clarification there, but you're probably quite a ladies' man. He's our Bent. Quite a ladies' man. Says his favourite opening was 1b3. I preferred when I was training someone, I said play 1 knight f3 and then play b3. That's probably this has games going right up. Oh, they're not presented chronologically. Long section on the endgame. Yes, Larsen was very, very good on endings. He's also good on sort of hand-to-hand fighting. And he was good at surprising people. It said, unlike most GMs who specialize narrowly, Larsen played anything and everything. In answer to the question, is there an opening Larsen didn't play? He certainly did well with the Dutch and the birds, and this is things which he gave intense scrutiny to. And there you are. This is an enormous book. The cover price is $19.99, but I would consider it's worth a very great deal more to me. And it's not something which weaker players who may be less inclined to look at technical books should shy away from. I really recommend it. Well, there we are. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe down below. This has been Chess Book Reviews 151.